with us today, and this is for the kids who are home. And I'm still reading Henry and Beezus by Beverly Cleary, our hero. And we're on chapter 6, Henry's Bargain Bike. Alright, Henry was so disappointed. He could hardly bear it. Oh, wait, what happened? Tell me what happened, guys. Why was he disappointed with that bike? What was wrong with it? It was a girl's bike, and you can tell by Henry's shoulders being slumped. He's like, oh, man. Okay.
I feel bad.
Beezus was right. The bicycle did have 2 wheels and handlebars. It did not, however, have a lot of other things. There was no air in the tires and very little paint on the frame. Spokes were missing, and because there was no graphite on the chain, the pedals made a booming noise when they were pushed around. But most important of all, the bicycle did not have a bar from the seat to the handlebars. We talked about that last time. But right here, there should be a bar across to make it a boy's bike. As a boy's bike and make a trade, suggested Beezus. That's a good idea, right?
Yeah, but who would have a boy bicycle?
Oh, you could just trade it in at a car dealer.
Oh, could be.
How a boy bike when they're a girl?
Yeah, well, true.
It happened.
But Henry thought this over. The trouble is, girls ride boys' bikes, but boys don't ride girls' bikes. If I found a girl who had a boy's bike, she'd probably want to keep it. He pushed his bicycle in silence for a while and then said, I'll just have to fix it some way, that's all. After lunch, Henry made a quick trip to the Rose City Bike and Trike shop. His mother had given him money for the 22 new spokes he needed. Now, the spokes, you guys, on those wheels, on a bike tire, there's a little thing in the middle, and then it has all those little spokes that come out that help keep the wheel together.
Like lines?
Yeah, they're little lines. What do they call those spokes?
Oh, yeah. Like little, like,
Metal.
They look like a star.
You can read it upside down.
I'm so talented, I can read it upside down. Okay.
I read my book upside down before.
Anyway, the man in the shop explained to Henry how to put the new spokes into the wheels. As Henry left the shop, he could not help noticing a shiny new bike with a racy red frame and a built-in headlight. Ah, if only his bicycle looked like that one. Back home, Henry went to work on his bicycle in his backyard. First, he slipped off the tires and removed the broken spokes with his father's pliers. Then he poked one end of each new spoke into its hole in the hub and the other end into the rim. So he's making it go from the middle part out to the edge.
Yeah, that's what always happens.
Yeah, Henry was tightening the nuts that held the spokes in place when Beezus and Ramona came up the driveway. Beezus was carrying her baton, and Ramona was riding her shiny new tricycle. The spokes on her wheels glistened in the sunshine as she pedaled along beside Beezus. When she got off the tricycle, she leaned it on 2 wheels against the house, as if it were a bicycle. Your bike looks better already, said Beezus, who was anxious to have Henry's bicycle turn out right after her mistake that morning. Henry tugged the tires back over the rims. Yeah, but not much, he said. Now I've got to find a way to turn it into a boy's bike. At least it does have a parking stand, thought Henry as he propped the bike up. He and Beezus studied it. If I had a pipe and some welding stuff and knew how to weld, I could weld a pipe across to make it a boy's bike, observed Henry. So welding is where you use fire and metal, and you kind of melt the metal a little bit to make it stick to the other piece of metal. And we're keeping our hands to ourselves back there. That just showed up on YouTube, by the way. So that's what they think. Oh, that would work if I could do that on one side and one end and the other end. I could weld it. Yes, yes, Devin?
You got, it's called like it got gas inside the bottom. It's like a tank, and then you use this little trigger, and then you press it, and all the
I think
blue
you're
fire
right.
comes out.
I've never welded anything, but I think you're right.
That is-
Are we okay back there, friends? Yeah? Okay. All right. I've lost my spot now.
Dang it.
Oh, here we go. Back. I'm still recording. Sorry, friends. I lost my spot. Okay.
Can you show us the video?
I guess, but now I'm sitting here looking and umming. Okay. You know, it would be easier to tie a piece of broom handle across, said Beezus. Henry frowned. Girls always thought of the dumbest things. This is just Henry saying this. It's not true. Still, it might work, at least until he could think of a better idea. Okay, I'll give it a try, he said. Henry found an old broom handle in the basement, measured it carefully, and sawed it off on the mark he had made. Then, with a piece of twine he happened to have in his pocket, he tied one end of the handle under the seat. The other end he fastened below the handlebars. Henry stood back and looked at his work. It could be better. Maybe if he painted the whole bike and the broom handle the same color and rode really fast, nobody would notice. And for the parade, he could cover the broom handle with roses or crepe paper or something. That looks keen, said Beezus. Keen means what?
Cute.
Cool, more like cool. That looks cool. Twirling her baton around her fingers. It's good enough to ride in the Rose Festival parade. Well, maybe. Henry thought he'd better make sure he could fix his bicycle before he said anything more about the parade. Last year he had been a snake charmer with a bath towel turban on his head and a snake made out of a stuffed nylon stocking around his neck. So I guess in the parade that they're talking about, they would dress up in costumes. Yes, Edwida?
And like India, there's like a snake charmer, and they like catch wild snakes in jungles, and then they have like a flute, which is like called, I don't know what it's called, but and then they like play it so the snakes get entertained, and they have like a fancy stick in case they attack them or bite them, they can hit it with.
Yeah.
That's
My first rule would be don't play with the snake in the first place. Then you don't have to hit it. Okay. This year he was getting pretty old to wear a costume and walk. He was determined to get his bike fixed in time. Are we all good, boys, in the back there? Yeah. Henry was examining the tires for holes when Robert came up the driveway. What do you have that piece of broom handle tied to the bike for? Demanded Robert. Henry did not answer. Robert knew very well why the handle was tied to the bike. You just wait, said Beezus, flipping her baton. Henry's bike is going to look all right when he gets it painted. He's going to ride it in the parade. I didn't say for sure, protested Henry, relieved that at least there were no visible holes in the tires. I bet you do. Beezus twirled the baton over her head. This time, she dropped it. Boing! Shouted Robert. Henry was too busy with his bike to notice what was going on. Oh, be quiet, snapped Beezus, as she picked up the baton. You just wait until I twirl my baton in the parade. Mother's going to make me a drum majorette costume. The parade's only 2 weeks away. Robert twanged a spoke with his finger. You'll have to be a whole lot better than that. And anyway, where will you get a band to lead? You don't have to have a band. Beezus tried to flip her baton behind her back, but dropped it in the grass. I'm just going to march and twirl. Mary Jane's going to wear her rosebud costume and make a wreath of roses for Patsy to wear around her neck. Do you remember who Patsy is?
her dog.
Yeah, it's her dog. Good.
There's also socks.
Remember, it was like Princess Patricia Terrabrook or whatever, something weird like that. Are we okay back there? Okay. Still recording. Alrighty. Patsy was Mary Jane's Cocker Spaniel. Are we okay? Friend in the back, stop. I'm going to be the hind legs of a giraffe, said Robert. A fellow I know on 33rd Street's going to be the front half. I bet you come apart in the middle, said Beezus, who had once been the front end of a horse in a park circus. Oh, the heater finally turned off. Robert examined the bicycle very carefully while Henry plucked at each spoke to see if it were tight enough. Some were tight, but very many were loose. I wish I had a real spoke wrench, muttered Henry. Now I'll have to take the tires off again. Scooter has a wrench in that little kit he carries on his bike. said Robert. "I've seen him use it. It's a thing that fits around the end of the spoke that goes through the rim." "You watch Ramona, and I'll go ask Scooter if you can borrow it," said Beezus, anxious to help. She ran down the driveway before Henry could object. He didn't want to borrow Scooter's wrench because Scooter might decide to come over and see what he was doing. "Hey, Ramona, stop pulling Ribsy's ears," ordered Henry. "Why don't you play you're waiting for a bus?" Remember that she did that one time?
Yes.
She sat, pretended she was waiting for a bus.
Waiting.
"Okay," was Ramona's surprising answer as she sat down on the back steps. When Beezus returned with the wrench, Henry went to work on the spokes. He went around both wheels and tightened each spoke, and then he went over them again and gave them all an extra twist just to make sure. He wasn't going to have any loose spokes on his bike. "Come on, Robert. Give me a hand," Henry said, after he had found a tire pump in the garage. He was beginning to feel excited. In a few minutes, he could try his bike. The boys fitted the rubber tube over the valve on the rim and were taking turns pumping when Scooter came up the driveway. "Hi," said Henry. He wondered what Scooter, who knew a lot about bicycles, would say. "Ha!" Scooter laughed. "What have you got that old broom handle tied to the frame for?" Henry was beginning to be sensitive about that broom handle, and so he just went on pumping. Scooter walked around the bike and studied it very carefully. He tried the bell, which pinged feebly. Bing. He wiggled the seat, examined the chain. There was no doubt about it. Scooter was an expert on bicycles. Henry waited anxiously for the expert's opinion. Except for that broom handle, he secretly thought his bike was pretty good now that the spokes were in. He paused in his pumping to ask, "Not bad for $4.04, is it?" Scooter jiggled the handlebars. He ran his finger over the tires. Henry began to feel uneasy. "Well, of course," he added, I still have a lot of things to do with it, like paint it and stuff." Scooter examined the fork that held the front wheel. He examined the fork that held the back wheel. So on your bike, you've got your wheel, right? In order to hold that wheel in place, you needed something to so this is the fork that holds the wheel. This is your wheel. Like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like a fork that's holding you too.
Yeah, a little different than that kind of fork, but yes, same idea.
Yep.
Oh, dear. Old show-off, thought Henry. Why doesn't he say something? "Well," said Scooter at last, "I suppose it will do for a kid your age. Of course, it needs a lot of work before it'll be safe to use. You'll need a light and a reflector and a good bell. The handlebars are loose and you need another handle grip. You'll have to get a chain guard and have both forks straightened and tighten the seat and mend the right pedal, and let's see. Those tires are pretty smooth. I don't like the looks of that brake." Discouraged, Henry stared at his bike. Except for the missing handle grip and the bell, he hadn't noticed any of those things Scooter mentioned. Leave it to old Scooter to find a lot of things wrong. The worst of it was, Scooter was probably right. Henry went on pumping. "Well, one thing at a time," he said, because he couldn't think of anything else to say. "Say, Huggins," said Scooter, "I've got an idea. How we could win a blue ribbon in the bicycle section of the parade after you do some more work on your bike." "How?" asked Henry. "Let's take the front wheel off that old bike and fasten the front fork to the back wheel of my bike and make a tandem."
What the heck is a tandem?
I will try to explain that. A bicycle built for two, only ours will have 3 wheels. So it'll be Scooter's regular bike with 2 wheels. Then they're going to take, I believe he wanted to put, let's see, how did he want to do the front wheel off the old bike and fasten the back wheel? Okay, so he wants to attach it to his bike. So there will have 3 wheels, 2 seats, 2 riders, all on one bike.
Oh, I get it.
Sort of. And I can't show you a picture because I'm recording right now, but I will try to do that afterwards. For like a 2-seater bicycle. They do have them, just not often. Don't touch your face. Okay. Don't touch your face. Right? Remember, don't touch your face. Will it really work? Robert was impressed with the suggestion. "Sure it'll work," said Scooter. "How about it, Huggins?" Henry was impressed with the idea too, but he didn't want to ride in the parade on an old piece of a bike fastened to Scooter's good bike. Not after the way Scooter had acted. "Nope, I'm going to do something else," he announced. "Oh, come on," said Scooter. "Don't you think it's a good idea?" "Sure, it's a good idea." Henry had to admit. I'm just going to do something else, that's all. What? Demanded Robert. I bet you think you're going to ride that bike, said Scooter. Well, what if I am? Asked Henry. You just wait. I'll get it all fixed up and trimmed with flowers and things, and nobody will know it's an old bike I got at an auction. Yeah? Let's see you ride it, said Scooter, when at last the tires were hard. Okay, I suppose you think I can't? Just for a good measure, Henry gave several spokes an extra hard twist with the wrench. His mouth was dry as he kicked the parking stand into place. He knew the bicycle would probably wobble at first, and he didn't want to take a spill in front of everyone. What does a spill mean?
It means like you fall.
Fall, good. He wheeled the bicycle to the driveway and stepped on the pedal and threw his leg over the seat. When his foot found the other pedal, he discovered something was terribly wrong.
What?
There was no pull to the pedals. His feet just spun around helplessly. Oh no. Because the driveway sloped, he was able to coast, so his driveway has like a slant to it. He was able to coast. Go back to where you were, please, so our friend can sit back down where he was. Thank you so much. Wobbling from side to side, barking furiously, Ribsy ran along beside him. So, oh my, I'll show the picture to our friends at home. And then...
And he even has his squirrel head.
Yeah, he has his coonskin cap on.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to explain what happened here. Henry's ears burned when he heard his audience shriek with laughter. Suddenly the pedals caught and he was able to use them. Then he realized something else was wrong with his bike. It moved in a peculiar twisting motion that made Henry go up and down as if he were riding a rocking horse. The chain, which still had no graphite on it, groaned. Up and down he bobbed as he struggled to keep his balance. Then, in the midst of his confusion, he saw that the front wheel was so bent it was no longer round. The back wheel must be bent too, because he could hear it scraping against the fender every time it went around. So his wheels, instead of being a round shape, are more like an egg shape. Not good.
Like smashed. Because I saw a lot of bikes do that.
Mm-hmm. The two boys and Beezus, screaming with laughter, ran along behind Henry. Suddenly, the groaning of the chain stopped, and he found his feet spinning again. Ride 'em, cowboy! Shouted Scooter as Henry coasted on the twisting bicycle and pumped the spinning pedals furiously in his effort to make them work again. The bicycle was wobbling out of control. Henry frantically tried to apply the coaster brake. Instead of stopping, the pedals began to spin backwards. Good gravity. Let's see. Henry tried to stop by dragging his foot, but the leg of his jeans got caught in the chain. The bicycle spilled him onto the sidewalk and toppled over on top of him. The others laughed even harder.
That's not nice.
No, that is not nice. When somebody falls and gets hurt,
You say okay. Are you okay?
you say, "Are you okay? Can I help you? Do you need assistance? Do
Yeah,
you need a
what's up?
Band-Aid?"
Yeah, one time I lost the training wheel on the bike.
Is that
Huh?
Henry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Henry, yeah. Okay, friends, I'm almost done with the chapter. I don't want to run out of video. I'm almost done. Let's go. Henry worked his jeans out of the chain, untangled himself from the bike, and stood up, scowling and rubbing himself. Ugh. All right, cut it out. You're not funny, he said to Robert and Scooter, who were pounding each other on the back and laughing. The coaster brake! Scooter was laughing so hard he couldn't even go on. And those wheels! Howled Robert. Scooter doubled up with laughter. It's the spokes! He whooped. Who tightened them for you? Whoever it was sure bent the wheels doing it. I did it myself, said Henry with dignity, wondering if he hadn't broken a few bones. As he started to wheel the bicycle up the driveway, he was glad to see that Beezus was no longer laughing at him. There's one of his friends, right? Are you still going to ride it in the parade? Asked Scooter. No, said Henry coldly. He wheeled his bike into the garage, came out, and closed the doors. I hope you're satisfied, Scooter McCarthy, he said crossly. Scooter stopped laughing. Say, Huggins, if I help you straighten out that back wheel, how about riding in the parade like I said? No, thanks, said Henry, patting Ribsy's head. Good old Ribsy. At least he had one friend left. Oh, come on, coaxed Scooter. No, said Henry. Okay, if that's the way you feel, said Scooter, shrugging his shoulders. Come on, Robert, help me roll my journals. As the two boys left, Henry threw himself down on the back steps. Beezus sat beside him. "I've got an idea," she said. "Why don't you wear a clown suit and ride the bike in the parade, and everybody will think you meant to be funny?" It's a good idea, right?
No.
Henry plucked a blade of grass. "No, I guess not. I'll think of something." He blew on the grass, which made a sputtering noise. Well, anyway, Beezus wasn't laughing at him, and he probably would think of something. Maybe his mother would help him with a costume. It wouldn't be the same as riding a bike, though. Beezus, seeing that Henry wanted to be alone, decided it was time to go home. Henry was silent as he watched Ramona mount her shiny tricycle and ride off, her spokes twinkling in the sunshine. Oh, there's our Ramona.
She's like riding a
Why did you get
one of her real.
Why did you get a YouTube channel so that you could watch
Watch me read. Remember, we have friends at home right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I'm doing this. He continued to sit and make sputtering noises on the blade of grass. Mrs. Huggins came out and sat on the steps beside Henry. "I was watching through the window," she said. Henry didn't say anything. Probably everyone on Clickadat Street was watching. "I'm sorry we can't get you a new bike, Henry," said his mother, "but I think we could manage $20 for a second-hand bike, so that means a used bike, but maybe one that is in better shape. If we watched the classified ads in the paper, we might find a good one that somebody wanted to sell." Henry sighed. "Thanks, Mom, but I guess not. If I can't have a brand new bike without a single thing wrong with it, I guess I can get along without one." Mrs. Huggins smiled. "I understand. When I was your age, I wanted some brand new ice skates attached to white shoes. But I had to use my brother's old hockey skates, so I know just how you feel." She patted Henry lightly on the shoulder and went back into the house. Somehow, Henry felt more cheerful. He blew on the blade of grass and produced an ear-splitting whistle. He sat on the steps, blowing and whistling and thinking about the shiny red bike in the Rose City Bike and Trike Shop. That's the end of a chapter. So my friends at home, chapter 7 is The Boy Who Ate Dog Food.
Ew.
I hope it's Scooter.
The boy who
See you tomorrow.